Ball.
Well, sorry, there it is.
It's not even that, mate. It's all over. Deutsche Telekom have shut down the breakaway at the 3 kilometers to go. After this wonderful day's racing, it is again all together. Those with the legs, there are 1 or 2 behind now, but basically all of the field that matters is here.
Look at the men lining up now in front of Eric Zabel. There is the champion of Germany, Danilo Hondo. There is Fanini. There is Zabel. It's 20 seconds, Phil, for the first man to cross the line. 12 seconds for the man who finishes second and 8 seconds for the man who finishes third. Those point seconds are going to be so important at the end of today. Also moving forward, Robbie McEwen, your favourite from Australia.
He's got a huge chance today if he can hang on. Now the Telecom boys are finding this climb is a little bit distressing because it's a lovely road surface. It'll turn right towards the top and then we'll line up for the finish. This is tremendous pacemaking being done here, and the man doing it is Andy Flickinger, a Frenchman on the AG2R, but he's got no team around him, so he may as well move out. He's done that. The champion of Germany now, Danilo Hondo, and they'll do it one by one here to go as quickly as they can, lose their position and hope that the last man left on the front is Eric Zabel. But he's very closely marked by the sprinters, and there's always the trouble that somebody will slip away, and there's a move on the right, and it is again a Lamprey rider giving it just about everything.
That is an unbelievable move by Team Lamprey coming out of the pack.
Well, I think it is Belos Vosic of Latvia who's gone from the Lamprey team. Now, if he's got the legs, can he hang on? Because he hasn't got much more strength left there. The peloton are still shadow boxing here if they can. Those legs must be screaming with pain now. The Telecom riders are still holding the back of the sprint as best they can. Well, this could be the steal of the day, and richly deserved, because we've seen a tremendous day of racing. But you know, there's still the acceleration of the sprinters now, as Baden Cook is trying to get in on the scene, the other Australian newcomer to the Tour de France now. The clash of swords, the legs are going, but it's too late. He's got victory on the line, and Zabel and McEwen take the second and third. But a great, great win there, and we still think that the rider was Rubens Bertogliato.
And there is the stage result. Not a 1-2-3 seen often in international cycling, but Togliatti, Zabel, McEwen, with Oscar Freire up contending in his first Tour and Stuart O'Grady 6th. And if the stage result was a surprise, what about this? Togliatti catapulted into the yellow jersey by the 20-second win bonus. That is about as close as Jan Ullrich is going to get to this year's race, I think. Of course, last year when the Tour route was announced, it must have seemed like a great idea. Germany's one and only ever Tour de France winner. Best man to promote it when it comes into the country. Of course, that was before Jan Ullrich's knee injury ruled him out of the race, and his recent pill-popping exploits at a party got him back in the headlines this week. Now, we've heard Jan Ullrich's excuse, which was that the drug taking was purely recreational, but I doubt that that cuts much ice with the Team Telecom management, because the fact is that when he's in the peloton and fully fit, Jan Ullrich is probably the most talented rider in it. But to go with his one Tour victory, he now has 4 second places. And if you look at his weight problems and now what we should call, I suppose, personal indiscipline problems, it's hard to imagine him ever again rivaling a man with the kind of ruthless dedication to his task that Lance Armstrong has. All right, enough of a lecture to Jan. Let's get back to the race out on the road. And with 11 kilometres to go, the action was pretty much an all-German affair. Jens Voigt trying to stay away from the bunch to sneak a home win, and Team Telecom leading the chase, determined to set up the same thing for Eric Zabel.
This is going to be a rip-roaring charge into the line. Ludo Dirksens is in the middle there in the Lamprey, the Belgian former Belgian national champion. Axel Merckx was there. There's the world champion as well, Oscar Freire. All of the big men are moving to the forward right now. Chaos it is at the front right now. Everybody wants to stay in 15th, 20th place. They don't want to touch their brakes. One thing about riding at this moment in the stage of the Tour de France, if you touch your brakes, you can slide back to 30th or 40th place. And in fact, Eric Zabel in the green jersey just on the right-hand side there seems to be a little bit too far back right now. And he is actually, he's pushing Danilo Hondo forward there. You see that move from the green jersey on Eric Zabel. He wants Hondo to take him a little bit further forward. He's using his teammates sensibly right now. Freire Ferreira is moving across now onto the wheel of the green jersey. This is a question of who breaks first or who breaks last as they go around this nice little chicane for the moment. Still a bit of disorganization on the front end of the main field as we get one of the telecom riders looking back to see where the rest of the guys are with 5 kilometers to go.
Well, I haven't noticed the capture of the leader, but I am going to presume now that he has been caught, as we're watching here under the 4-kilometer banner.
The charge down into town. These corners are very, very tricky and precarious because everybody wants to hold their position. You're leaning right into the corner, getting the knee down as far as possible to lower your center of gravity and hopefully not lose a gap on the wheel in front of you right now. Lotto are in control. It's a Lotto Telecom train at the moment. We are touching speeds, Phil, approaching 35 miles an hour right now. It really is going to be a mad dash. The yellow jersey is in 2nd position. The world champion is in 4th position. The man who wears the green jersey there, Erik Zabel, is in 7th position. Everybody's battling for the wheels of the sprinters. We are now looking to see when the red kite is going to appear, and I think, if my memory serves me correctly, it's just after this bridge.
Well, Ludo Dirksen, hats off to the Belgian rider here, who is trying to drag this young man of 23 years of age to his 2nd stage win in as many days, and he's forcing the yellow jersey. He's got no more legs left, and he's put him on the front, which is where he should not be right now, because as they go 1,000 meters from the finish, there is still a left hand to come. What's the whereabouts of the green jersey of Zabel? Is it a big moment for him now as he turns into the corner on the shoulder of Robbie McEwen, the champion of Australia? I thought there'd been a crash for a moment. They took it wide. There was a crash. Somebody's gone down there, but it's not the 2 men we expected, as lead out is still coming now. The yellow jersey washed away. Watch for the men to break from the centre in green. Oscar Freire is there too as they try for this one. Freddy Rodriguez is about 7 men down now. Danilo Hondo is the lead-out man. Then it'll be Gian Matteo Panini. Then it'll be Zabel with Hunter on his McEwen on his wheel, Freire on his wheel. Now they move over. Now the green comes on the right. Zabel on the right. Freire on the left with McEwen. It's the 3 of them go for the line, and the world champion has taken it. Oscar Freire with Zabel and McEwen, the runners-up.
So Oscar Freire adds a debut Tour de France stage win to his 2 World Championships, just in case anyone thought they were flukes, and afterwards he had his rainbow collar felt by Matt Rendell.
Oscar tiene una colección formidable de mallas, ¿no? De jerseys, y ahora 11 segundos le separa de la maillot jaune. ¿Qué está pensando? ¿Con qué va a soñar por la noche?
No, por la noche no sé con qué soñaré, pero no sé, yo creo que ahora mi objetivo era también conseguir una etapa y en ningún momento pienso en el maillot amarillo, pero lo que está claro es que si puedo conseguirlo no lo voy a desaprovechar.
For the second day, and very much against the odds, Rubens Bertogliati stood on the podium in yellow, but having ridden intelligently at the front of the bunch all day, you have to say he deserved it. Well, it wasn't a stage for Lance today, but for the men who reckoned they could sprint themselves into the race lead on the way from Metz to Reims. 174.5 kilometres, with bonuses available at 3 sprints along the way, as well as the finish, of course.
Now we're sweeping across this beautiful city of Reims. It'll shortly narrow down before we line up for the actual finish, just down the side of the main Metz to Paris motorway.
Tell you what, Erik Zabel's a long way further back right now, and Robbie McEwen's up into 3rd place. Right on his wheel is Fabio Baldato. There is Michael Sandstad. He's looking over his shoulder to see just exactly what the position is of Laurent Jalabert. The Estonian national champion is in there, Jan Kursipuu in the dark blue jersey there, but looks to me as if Erik Zabel is an awful long way down right now.
This is going to be a real sprint for the line.
Robbie Hunter's in there too. He's going to try and do it. This is a last-minute attack. That's probably going to be a man like Nico Matin from Cofidis. A good move by him, trying to surprise all of the sprinters coming off the front, hitting them just at the right time. It is Nico Matin, but he hasn't surprised anybody at all today. He's just going off the front of the main pack, but they're just reassembling behind him. That will cause a bit of consternation for Team Lotto. It's caused a bit of disorganization. Squeezing through the gap there in the green jersey is Erik Zabel. They're all over the road right now trying to organize themselves. There are no teammates at all of Erik Zabel. He's having to count on the other sprinters right right now. Hunter is there in 4th position. There is the world champion Oscar Freire. There's a big line on the right-hand side now. This is coming from Alessio.
Well, Alessio have a great sprinter too, and it's even off, and he's about 3 men back. And I must say that there's no team got control of this race today. They are all out of control because Telecom tried and couldn't. Lotto have got a little bit confused, but watch out for Robbie McEwen. He's got the 3rd place position there, and that is the best right now. Here comes the swing, and it's Hondo taking them through. Brake hard, and it's very narrow. They'll sight it now. They've made it safely because it was dry, and now they've got a chance to go for the goal. The big sprinters are there. Zabel will have to take on Oscar Freire. He'll have to take on the McEwen group again because they're all there now. And again, Robbie Hunter trying to lead out the world champion teammate, but he's got on the back wheel there instead. Fabio Baldato is there. Baden Cook is in the centre. The little squat rider in white. That's Freddy Agricole trying to bring through Tor Hoshoff here. This is going to be a most amazing finish because still the green jersey of Zabel is deep in the peloton. And in that peloton too is Baden Cook. Now Zabel making his move as Hoshoff is trying to win. This is the man who finished last yesterday, finished 20 minutes behind. Is keeping the sprint going here for the line, and on his wheel is still Hunter, as I think Zabel is boxed in, but now McEwen comes. McEwen is going to lead out to Eric Zabel for the line. Robbie McEwen, I don't think is going to lose this one. He's moving off his line. There'll be a protest, but McEwen for the moment gets the win.
I waited and waited, took my chance, and this time I got across to the barriers, and I saw Zabel coming, but with a tailwind slide uphill, I thought I could hold it, and oh, that's nice.
Well, there were questions asked about whether Robbie cut across Eric Zabel in the final sprint, but there was no protest from Team Telecom, so he was safe to celebrate with his wife Angelique and Ewan McEwen, the rhyming baby, making his Tour debut at the age of less than 2 months. If his dad keeps going, he might make it onto the podium like Eric Zabel's son does every year. So there's the stage result. McEwen, Zabel and another Aussie, Baden Cook, in his first ever Tour, taking an impressive 3rd place. Eric Zabel led the race coming into the day, and here's what he thought of the likelihood that his team might keep him there.
Not so high, because we see the circuit, we train on this road, and it's hard, and the wind stays like this. It's a lot of headwind, so it comes much more harder then. And don't forget our best 3 time trialists stay at home. So I think the chance for US Postal with Lance Armstrong is a little bit higher.
A victory in a team time trial is very, very good for the team spirit. It's really a performance that they accomplished together. And the couple of days after a victory like that is really, you can do amazing things with a spirit like that.
Today is a very important stage for us, especially for Lance. We can, if he can do well, Lance will be able to get some extra time on the main guys in the general classification.
We had last year, we had a problem in the team time trial because of the rain. So if it will be dry, I will be very happy.
In my opinion, I think we have a great team for the team time trial. I think that we can, barring accidents, I think we can buy time there.
Yeah, well, we all know the Tour de France, there's so much that can happen, so we always have our guard up, and it's going to be very hard no matter what. So we do have to concentrate on that. But the team is riding well, and Lance is riding super strong, so we are confident, and we hope we have good luck.
Well, the route today was 67.5 kilometres from Epinay to Chateau Thierry, heading mainly due west, which would mean strong headwinds, and punctuated by a testing climb at the halfway point. Eric Zabel and the Telecom team were among the early starters, but weren't even fast enough to post the best time of the first 7 teams to go. We pick it up now with the big 5 all out on the road. CSC Tiscali have gone through the first checkpoint with the best time, but fastest through the second, despite losing a rider to a puncture, are on say. Let's join Phil Liggett and Paul Sherwin.
This should be a very interesting time coming in, because it is almost certainly going to wipe Faso Bortolo away completely.
By about 1 minute and 45 seconds, I would think, if they've continued their progress. Well, they've had their share of bad luck too. They've lost a man very early on today with a flat tyre. It happened at 24 kilometres in, so they've ridden over 40 kilometres without a one-man on the team, Pradera. but this time is going to be a sensational one and will be the time to beat, I think, for sure. Once have lived up to the reputation as a great team time trial outfit. Look at that time now. 1:21 was the best time. They're going to be inside at 1:20 for the ride. Big sprint to the line required. They have to put the stopwatch on the 5th man over the line, but they've held it together very well despite the early problem. They bring 8 men home. Best time 1:19.49 for Once. And now they can sit down, and it'll take 20 minutes to finish this race now, and they're going to have to see just is it good enough to give them the race leader.
This team we're looking at now, Tyler Hamilton's team and the team of Laurent Jalabert, have taken the risk of leaving one of their strong men behind, Michael Sandstad. He's just had a flat tyre. They have to keep the pressure on as much as possible because Laurent Jalabert's dream at the moment is getting himself into the yellow jersey. He started his day at the same time as Lance Armstrong in the overall standings. They had a 9 seconds advantage over the best place of the Once riders, Igor Gonzalez de Galdiano. So as long as they can finish in front of Once and US Postal Service, Laurent Jalabert will be in yellow tonight.
Just look at all of the riders in this magnificent US Postal team. They are all still together, and I think Lance has put the blocks on a little bit to say let's just steady it down. We don't have to win this race.
Well, it's not important for him to win this race. The important thing is to stay in a reasonable amount of contact with CSC Tiscali and, of course, with the Once squad. Because if one of these other teams were to take the yellow jersey, he knows over the next few flat stages they are going to do everything to control it. If, for example, Laurent Jalabert gets the yellow jersey tonight, he will fight tooth and nail to keep himself in yellow for as long as absolutely possible. But here they are, the blue train.
Here they are indeed, second best time at 7 kilometers before the finish. Now, I don't think they can bridge the 38 seconds. They were behind Once at that point. But if they come over the line here in second, they finished 4th in this race last year, by the way. And a similar time position today is the worst they can expect. Second or third, I think, is the best. But they're going to push themselves right to the limit. You can see riders dropping off now. Job done. They only need 5 to cross the line for the time. Ekimov has peeled off on the far right there now. The most important thing is, of course, that Lance Armstrong finishes with those 5 riders. Floyd Landis also here and looking good. As they drive up to the line, they've just popped down into second place, but they'll be coming across the line quite clearly in second place, putting Fassa Bortolo down into third with 2 teams still to finish. The arrival of US Postal, they'll be well satisfied with this day. 1:20.05.
They pulled a lot back over the last 10 kilometers there. In fact, only losing just over 15 seconds to Once at the end of the day. So they pulled themselves back a good 20 seconds over the last 7 kilometers of racing. And I'd say a lot of that went down to George Hincapie, Lance Armstrong and Yaroslav Ekimov. The important thing, though, is not losing today's stage, but keeping the team together as a collective. They will have high morale tonight. They will be happy with this performance.
So it looks like a 3rd place finish for CSC. Bad luck taking them perhaps off the leaderboard, or was it the consistency of the other 2 who persisted and beat them? 3rd, 1:20.35, and so the new maillot jaune of the Tour de France will be Igor Gonzalez de Galdiano in only his 2nd Tour de France.
And here's the result that put him there. The favourites, US Postal, beaten into 2nd place by 16 seconds. CSC Tiscali 3rd, with an excellent ride by David Miller's Cofidis team to take 5th. Today was stage 5 of the Tour de France, and coming into it, there were encouraging signs that we might have a bit of a race on our hands. Once had confirmed Lance Armstrong's pre-race prediction that they'd be one of the strongest teams by being stronger than his in the team time trial. The question now is, can they use their strength in depth to launch a full-scale challenge on the defending champion?
El valor o el triunfo de la Once Eroski es el trabajo en conjunto, ¿no? Creo que hemos trabajado muy bien. Algunos desde el coche, Manolo dirigiendo y otros dando a los pedales, ¿no? Cada uno en su trabajo. Es realmente donde se ve el trabajo de un director, ¿no? Y creo que lo hace mejor que nadie.
Yo creo que son muy gentiles, ¿no? Yo digo que La especialidad de la contrarreloj por equipos es como un rally, ¿no? Yo soy el copiloto que va diciendo las cosas, pero el que pone el esfuerzo, el que pone la técnica, el que pone toda la sabiduría es el piloto, ¿no? Y ellos son los pilotos los que hacen todo el esfuerzo, los que hacen todo el sacrificio. Y al término, pues cuando acaba la victoria es suya y la felicitación es para ellos, ¿no?
Pues, pero ahora como director deportivo el trabajo duro comienza, ¿cierto?
Sí, es un tour difícil, es un tour donde nosotros tenemos muchas ambiciones. Yo creo que hemos dado un paso importante, sobre todo mental, ¿no? Para la psicología un poco del equipo. Y ahora debemos de seguir pensando en todo el tour, con nuestras ambiciones, con nuestras ganas, con nuestros sueños. Y es verdad que Armstrong es el gran favorito, pero que yo siempre digo, ¿no? Que aunque él sea el gran favorito, que nos permitan a los demás soñar. Y nosotros tenemos que soñar con ganarle, ¿no? Entonces, pues vamos a luchar un poquito por ello.
Well, today's route didn't look like much of a threat to Onse's plans. 195 flat kilometres from Soissons to Rouen. Perfect for the sprinters, or the kind of breakaway that often develops the day after a big stage like the team time trial, when everyone's tired. The unwelcome distinction of first rider to abandon the Tour went to Tom Steels, the Mapei sprinter, who's perhaps still suffering the after-effects of glandular fever. And after an early crash, Richard Véron was in a bit of discomfort too, getting running repairs from the race doctor. After a couple of unsuccessful attempts, a five-man breakaway did form, and in it were Belgium's Ludo Dirksens and the Estonian sprinter Jan Kirsipuu. They were joined by Italy's Stefano Casagrande, Christophe Edelin of France, and Michael Sandstott, the Danish CSC rider, whose puncture cost them the team time trial.
So this is all happening at 19 kilometres to go now. The gap has just come through at 2 minutes and 23 seconds. McGee has a flat tyre, and as Paul has said, and there's been a terrific crash in the back here. And cameras are now organising. Quite a few riders are stunned down there. A lot of the Euskaltel riders, one of the Lamprey riders on the far right of the road. Doesn't look terribly good at all, but this is a tremendous crash at high speed, and we don't know how it happened. Our camera's switching to the back of the race.
Well, this indicating a lot of riders were under serious pressure. There's the national champion, Nicolas Vaugondi. He's there. There's a Lamprey rider who is down and not looking very good at all. He looks in serious difficulty, and that, in fact, is Marco Pinotti. Bocharov is in there as well, the AG2R leader. He was also involved in that crash, but I have to say Marco Pinotti is not looking very good. Gerard Porte, the doctor, is right there alongside him in the white shirt. But this shows that the riders of the Tour de France at the moment are under serious pressure. When a group goes down like that, it shows that there is a lot of fatigue creeping in.
So in these last 15 kilometres of the race today, it is in total disarray at the back, and in fact Didier Rousse is trying to get away from the peloton, and he has been joined by Laurent Dufaux. I don't know if we'll see pictures of this because I'm not too sure. We've got too many cameras left right now, but two riders are ahead of the peloton. The crowd continues to cheer here at just under 15 kilometres to go to the finish, and we are in fact passing through here the town where the great Jacques Anquetil rests in Quincampoix. And there he is. This is in fact the gravestone of the great Jacques Anquetil, and that's his signature on the right. He died in 1987, and he wasn't that old really. A most brilliant rider in the Tour de France, 5 times a winner, 51 times he wore the leader's yellow jersey. Now this of course is not allowed, and if the referees see it, these riders will be penalised both in time and money, because rules are quite clear. You cannot take shelter for more than 50 metres behind your team vehicle. They are now under the 5 kilometres to go, so they too are beginning the descent into the city of Rouen. The gendarme working overtime to warn the riders about those nasty little bits of furniture in the centre of the road. But this, I think, can only be the saving grace of the breakaway. It's much easier to descend at speed in a small group than a big peloton. They're all working, and this now the counter-attacking is going to come from the 5 in the front, and they're not going to work together now. It could be fatal to do that. They need to keep their rhythm on. If they start shadowboxing, they're finished for the day. Sandstad, I think, will go soon. He cannot afford a sprint finish. He can't sprint. And watch out for the man at the back, Casagrande. I think if anybody's going to beat Kirsipuu today, it is the Italian on the back of this line. and now Casagrande has made his move.
He's moved again. They're forcing Cursipu to chase all of these little counter-attacks. He's putting a lot of pressure now. The move coming from Sandstad. He's just got himself back on. Cursipu again has to dig deep again. He has to nail down these attacks one at a time. They know he's the fastest man in the group, but watch out. The best time to attack right now would be for Ludo Dirksens to go straight over the top. They're inside the final kilometre. They've 30 seconds advantage over the main field. They will survive today, but watch out for the move coming by the young Frenchman.
Because that's the time to go. When they sat up, he had to make the running. He's the lead-out man now, and Cursipu has locked on the big sprinter. A chance to return to the top in a Tour de France for him and claim a third stage win. Casagrande grits his teeth, but Cursipu saw him come. Cursipu straight into his slipstream here now. Dirksen has been dodging wheels and still holding on to third place. Now Casagrande's made the mistake. Cursipu won't come yet. He tried and will wait until the last possible moment, but they've done a good one. They've got him back in the lead. Sorry about the tunnel, but we're back in view now. Casagrande on the middle of our picture, and now Sandstad grits his teeth again to try and make amends for yesterday. He goes for the line, but Cursipu is in the perfect position. Dirksen is going to take him on. Dirksen is going to go for young Cursipu. Now, there's not many of them will get over Cursipu. Cursipu is now clear and is going to get the win, but only just. He gets it on the line from Sandstad, Dirksen, Casagrande, Edelin.
Well, it was close, but for the first time this tour, a breakaway stayed away, with Jan Cursipu winning a low-speed chase at the line from his fellow escapees. From the look on your face as you came across the line, you had given that everything.
Yeah, I had everything and even a little bit more. I had nothing left.
When did you realise that it was just going to be between you five?
Well, I started to thought that we were since 25 kilometers to go. Then I saw that we're going to make it.
And this is what Cursipu's win does to the overall standings. Absolutely nothing. Igor Gonzalez de Galdiano leads 4 seconds ahead of his teammate Josipa Belocchi, with Lance Armstrong another 3 seconds back. Now, with 3 consecutive flat stages leading up to the individual time trial on stage 9, nothing dramatic was likely to change in the race for the yellow jersey. For the points competition, though, they could be crucial days.
Through the middle comes Eric Zabel in a green jersey on the line. That's it. Eric is in green. Robbie McEwen, I don't think, is going to lose this one. He's moving off his line. There'll be a protest, but McEwen, for the moment, gets the win. Now Stuart O'Grady is going to try. O'Grady is going to edge it. Oh, and it was so close on the line, but he thinks he got it. Now the green comes on the right. Zabel on the right. Frere on the left, and McEwen. It's the 3 of them go for the line, and the world champion has taken it. Oscar Frere with Zabel and McEwen, the runners-up.
The green jersey is the competition for the Tour's hourly paid workers, not just sprinters but hard men who come out every day to earn their points. And there are 2 ways to get them. At the finish, points are awarded on a sliding scale to the first 25 riders across the line. That's why we saw Eric Zabel and Robbie McEwen fighting for 6th place yesterday. It was worth 20 points. There are also points available out on the road at hotspot sprints. 6 for the first man under the banner, 4 for the second and 2 for the third. So, while the yellow jersey holder can sit quietly in the bunch on flat stages and just keep an eye on his rivals, green jersey contenders have to be out there working every stage. The hardest working man in bike business the last 6 years has been Eric Zabel, who's won a record half a dozen green jerseys in a row. Last year, he held off a strong challenge from Stuart O'Grady. This year, Robbie McEwen is trying to bring the run to an end, and he's outsprinted Zabel at the finish on the last 3 stages.
It's very close between Robbie and me, and also the other Australian riders like Cook and O'Grady are still in shape, and we see what's happened the next days.
So currently the points competition looks like this. Zabel's lead is down to just 2 points after Robbie McEwen outsprinted him yesterday. The impressive Baden Cook in his first tour is lying 3rd, and yesterday's stage win has Jan Cursipu ahead of Stuart O'Grady for the moment. And the reason the next 3 days are so important is because after the time trial on stage 9, the Tour heads south to the mountains, and there the sprinters won't be earning any points, they'll be hanging on at the back. Now, one final thing about the green jersey competition. and it's this thing. Now, it doesn't look very dangerous. I mean, you'd struggle to hijack a plane with it, but according to the tour organisation, this is an offensive weapon. The problem is that PMU, who sponsor the green jersey, distribute hundreds of these things every day, presumably so that fans can give the riders a big hand at the finish. Cue laughter from the studio audience. However, Robbie McEwen wasn't laughing the other day as the fans hung over the barrier and Rance waving these things in his path during the final sprint.
I got hit with a couple of those on the arm, got hit in the head by one, got a bit of skin off my arm, but yeah, well, scars, I mean, it's not too bad. I feel like a little school kid going, look, Mum, I hurt myself. But
I'm impressed.
But, you know, it's like, I'm doing 60-something k an hour and people are heading, I got another one on my shoulder, and lucky I had a helmet on, otherwise I could have a big one across my head. But, you know, I had to get away from the barriers then because I was scared that someone was going to hit me in the face with a hand and I'd lose it that way rather than someone riding past me, you know, on pure speed.
Well, there's the Stage 6 route, just on 200 kilometres to Alençon, and there were a possible 53 green jersey points available, 6 apiece for winning the 3 hotspot sprints, and 35 for winning the stage. Well, Robbie McEwen took the first 6, out-sprinting Zabel, who only picked up 2 points for third behind Jans Verrada, and that 4-point swing meant McEwen was now the leader on the road in the green jersey competition by 2 points. A little before the first sprint had been the first crash of the day. David Miller was caught up in it and suffered cuts to his arms and legs, but he got back on and rejoined the main bunch.
Well, Eric is a brilliant competitor. He will not take defeat lightly. There's McEwen, though. He's just passed out of view, but he's over to the left of our picture, about 4 men down. I've noticed Frere is there as well, and also Baden Cook is right tucked in too, very close to Eric Zabel. The 3 Aussies are ganging up on him again. What a superb approach to line this is by the stars of the tour. Here comes Ludo Dierksens now. McEwen checks himself in the centre screen there. Baden Cook is also off to the left of our picture, to the right of McEwen. The peloton are out of it now, and glad to be, I think. This is a vicious finish today. Dierksens has got the front. Danilo Honda looks over his shoulder. He's looking for the whereabouts of Zabel as the sprint now starts, and this is going to be a very, very difficult sprint. It's Fabio Baldato trying for the run here now. He hasn't got the legs. Very, very sharp right-hander. Honda round in second place. Zabel not quite there on the train just yet as our camera tries to catch up. Now Baldato in trouble, I think. This is going to be the final run for the line now. It's the champion of Germany leading out here. Then it'll be Gian Matteo Fognini. Zabel is there in 4th place. The left of the picture, Teddy Agricole is trying now. Robbie McEwen has got the wheel, but watch out for Frere. Frere is on the wheel of Zabel. Zabel is leading out the world champion. McEwen is trying on the left. McEwen and Zabel. This is going to be McEwen again. Right on the line. Zabel has got him. Zabel has taken him on the line. And that is how you say, I'm still in this bike race.
So Eric Zabel, who started the day in green by just 2 points, finished in green by 7 after a short detour into second place out on the road.
I must say I'm very happy now to win a stage on this way. But I think you are right. Robbie McEwen is from the wheel, mostly from my wheel, one of the fastest guys. This year it's very hard for me to win when I start in front.
As we indicated at the top of the show, all that excitement left the race for the yellow jersey completely untouched. Well, there's today's obstacle course, 176 kilometres from Bagnoles de l'Orne to Avranches. A couple of 4th category climbs along the way, and another 53 possible points on offer for the sprinters in the green jersey competition. In yellow for the 3rd day, Igor Gonzalez de Galdiano, of course, would have a full complement of ONCE bodyguards, including the man in second place behind him, Joseba Belocchi. Well, today's escape committee was 3 strong. Anthony Morin of Credit Agricole, Domo's Léon Bambon, and Frank Renier of the Bonjour team. Between them, they built up a lead of more than 5 minutes, and in the process mopped up all the intermediate sprints, so no change in the green jersey competition out on the road. No competition at all for the strangest shot of the day, David Echevarria working on his aerodynamics in advance of the time trial. And it might have had something to do with the second strangest shot, because it came just after Echevarria got a 25-mile-an-hour peck on the cheek from Roberto Laiseca. The first crash of the day wasn't a serious one, but it left Jonathan Vaughters seriously adrift of the bunch, because his bike was more seriously damaged than he was.
Alessio driving the race on here now. Telecom willing to work, hoping that Zabel can have those aging legs of his and the more stamina than the lesser aging legs of Oscar Freire and Robbie McEwen in the sprint. There's a crash. There's a crash. And this again is a situation.
Let's have a look and see if any of the riders who are high in the overall standings have been caught out. Number 12 there for Team Telecom is Rolf Aldag. He's a big worker. Again there, Christoph Agneluto, AG2R, number 182. He is down. It looks as if there's a large, tall Crédit Agricole rider. That may be Jonathan Vorters, again having a bad day.
Lampre's gone, Paul, Marco Serpellini, and there's somebody
the world champion Freire
is down. Oscar Freire has taken a very nasty fall. Now, this is a man whose whole career has been dogged by physical problems, and this is extremely sad. And it's his back again. It's his back that has given him the problems in the past. There's somebody else right underneath him from Lampre down there.
Well, he just popped his head up for the last minute. That
ditch is rather deeper than it appears, it seems. A lot of riders are down here and delayed.
Oh, and Christophe Moreau, 61, is down as well. This is bad. There's Jonathan Vorters. Stewie O'Grady is there as well, I think, on the left-hand side. You can see that a lot of men have gone down. Frédéric Bessy, number 52. The Crédit Agricole riders all here waiting for their leader. And Christophe Moreau, I think, more dejected psychologically here, Phil, than anything else.
But just how many Crédit Agricole riders fell down? Because I don't think they're waiting for... I think they must have been almost all riding together as they crashed. Obviously, Moreau is down, looking very cool and collected. The rider on the right, Roger Leger, won't believe this, attending all of his team. Freire looks as though he might be on his way, but he's back. And this is a serious problem for Oscar. His back has been a problem, and now he looks as though he's given a real good clout in that ditch.
Well, he's a man I thought would be capable of getting up this climb towards the finish, and that is going to change the complete physiognomy of the race finish here right now, because he's a tough guy at the end of the day. Moreau is up and riding. There's a guy down on the ground there, and I think that is Didier Rousse, in fact. It is Didier Rousse, the former national champion of France. He's been involved in several crashes since the start, and this one doesn't look too good. The way he's holding his arm there right now, it looks as if it might be a collarbone problem there.
Well, 3 days running. Let's hope that's the end of it now as we leave them behind. Desperate straight to the front as well. The latest gap is 18 seconds. Anthony Morin won't know half of his team, not half, 3/4, are all lying on the road at a couple of kilometres behind him. Leon Van Bonner's gone to the front. He may as well try something because they're coming very, very close.
Another crash at the back,
sounds like another crash call.
That we're getting all this information from Race Radio, the Race Referees channel. This is in French. And you can see these guys now raising the white flag. And in fact, Jalabert has gone down, number 51. So again, chaos. And there are a lot of US Postal jerseys there too. This is a big rider.
Well, they've got Ekimov down nearest. And Ekimov is looking after Armstrong.
Has gone down as well. He's not crashed, but he had a slight problem here. This is number 1. This is the defending champion right now. He's inside 2.5 kilometers to go. Armstrong is up and riding. The race referee's car is by him. This is why the Tour de France over the first 10 days is so very dangerous and precarious. There was Georgie Hincapie, but you know what? Armstrong is going to fly up through this field. He looked all right to me. There was no problem to his bike at all. And here's the last-minute attack.
Well, Armstrong has got to get on because he'll lose time here. This race will be split time today.
Look at this. US Postal Service today are being asked by Lance Armstrong to pull him back into the main peloton. Danilo Hondo on the front there in the white jersey. The yellow jersey, Igor Gonzalez de Galdiano, was very front. There's a lot of pressure at the back because Lance Armstrong has been involved in an incident just a few moments ago. 3 of those guys have been pulled back into the fold, but there's a move going off the front right now by Mapeo. Lance Armstrong apparently 15 seconds behind the main peloton at the moment.
Well, this looks like Pedro Jarillo is trying to slip away here for the Mapei team. I might well surprise us with a surprise. Brad McGee there in second place. It is going... The sprint has been spoilt here by this hill for sure of 400 meters, and I think this is Pedro Jarillo, and if it is, and it doesn't matter who it is, it's a Mapei rider who's going to get the sprint as he's being closed in by Bradley McGee. McGee is trying to reach him. He was the man that's supposed to lead out Baden Cook, but he's too strong. I think McGee might get his stage win here because he's closing very, very quickly. Pedro Jarillo is beginning to crack as the sprint is starting behind now. And as they kick behind, it looks as though McGee is going to get the victory of his life. Bradley McGee, the Australian, takes it on the line. And what an incredible result that was. Well, 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 Australia have got the win, but by the man we didn't really expect it to. He was supposed to lead out Baden Cook, and he rode the field off his wheel.
So the yellow jersey competition, which was supposed to be in hibernation until the time trial, is suddenly all activity and time gaps. In fact, it's all on say. They've got the top 7 places now, with Lance Armstrong slipping back to 8th, 34 seconds behind Igor Gonzalez de Galdiano.
I can't believe this is the biggest thing ever. Yeah, I can't believe it.
It was the biggest disappointment ever for Pedro Orio, who thought he'd timed his burst to the line perfectly, only to deflate in the last 10 metres when he turned and saw McGee powering past him.
Hombre, pues sí, yo creo que las fuerzas las tengo como para ganar una etapa, pero las circunstancias nunca sabes cómo son, ¿no? Y desde luego la circunstancia era favorable para mí y para desgracia de Óscar, pues esa caída suya pues me ha favorecido a mí, ¿no? Y he tratado de intentarlo y la verdad es que tengo una desilusión tremenda ahora mismo porque lo he visto tan cerca que es mejor no verlo tan cerca para no llevarte esa desilusión.
The word on Armstrong, by the way, is that he didn't actually come off in the crash, just got blocked by a teammate who did. The word from the US Postal Camp is that he'll be fit for what should be a fascinating showdown.
Well, the papers, of course, are full of all of the crashes which are affecting the destiny of the riders in this race at the moment. We're losing most of the riders because of broken bones right now. This is Oscar Freire, and as you say, he's now out of the race, and that's really sad. And, of course, Lance Armstrong gets the inside page because it's the first time in 4 years, Paul, that he's been involved in any sort of an accident.
Well, he's ridden well over the last few years, kept himself out of all kinds of incidents and accidents, but in fact he didn't properly crash yesterday. It was his teammate Roberto Heras who fell onto his back wheel. Heras's handlebars were caught in the wheel of Armstrong. Armstrong had to put his foot on the ground, was delayed but managed to get up and started riding again, but I think a little bit more scared than anything else.
Yeah, well, he lost 27 seconds, not a disaster, but it just shows you how easily you can lose the Tour de France.
Today's stage was the 3rd longest of the Tour, just over 217 kilometres, with 3 fourth category climbs, and like yesterday, the last of them on the run-in, which was likely to make things interesting. Big crowds out for Bastille Day, and the big guns were out for the first intermediate sprint. Robbie McEwen beat Eric Zabel to it, and that cut the Germans' lead in the points competition to 3. The first successful attack of the day had 7 men in it, 3 Frenchmen, 3 Dutchmen, and a Latvian. That was Raivis Belavoschiks. The French riders were all from different teams, Stéphane Auge of De La Tour, Bonjour's Frank Renier, and Sébastien Hinault of Crédit Agricole. But it was the Dutch who made the break interesting. Rabobank's Eric Dekker, who'd won stage 8 in the past 2 tours, his young teammate Karsten Kroon, and his arch-rival Servace Knaven of the Domo team. As we join it, they're simultaneously trying to psych each other out and stay away from the chasing pack.
Another attack, it looks like it's gone again. It could well be Knaven who's gone. This long line of people just seeing a wonderful race here, and they're now a kilometre to go. To forget the race behind, they're racing now for 8th place in the peloton.
Well, Frank Renier's been the aggressive man of the Tour de France so far. He's the most aggressive bike rider in the event since we left Luxembourg. There are 3 Dutchmen in this group right now. The leading group is 7 men strong. They have thrown absolute caution to the wind this afternoon. They've launched attack after attack, and it is finally going to come down to a sprint for the line. But Milosevic is on the left-hand side. He's gone, and I think he might have hit them hard.
Well, he's gone again off to the left. Dekker's hooked up to his wheel. Who else would it be? Frank Renier, the most aggressive rider of the Tour in his first Tour de France, is riding 3rd wheel, and he's looking very promising. They call him the Spider-Man. Well, he's got everybody in his web. Can he get them out of it? Because leading up to the line now is Velocity. Now comes Dekker. On the left of the picture is Hinault now. And Hinault and Dekker, where is he finding the strength from? As this is going to be a tight sprint. Is it a successful day for Dekker? My goodness me, no. It is Karsten Kroon, his teammate. That is an immense result.
So Gonzalez de Galdiano will take a lead of 34 seconds over Armstrong into tomorrow's individual time trial, probably the most important day of his career.
Sí, una cita con el destino y con la contrarreloj. Una contrarreloj importante para mí, para todo el equipo y
para los adversarios también.
Igor, más de medio minuto le separa de Armstrong. Primera cosa, ¿usted cree que usted puede ganar el contrarreloj? Segunda cosa, 37 segundos creo que le separa de Armstrong. ¿Van a ser suficientes para darle el jersey amarillo en las montañas?
Suficiente, no sé. Yo creo que yo intentaré hacer una buena contrarreloj. El problema es que Armstrong también es muy bueno en la contrarreloj. Incluso hasta ahora en el Tour ha sido el mejor. Tanto es una incertidumbre. Yo espero hacer la buena y a partir de ahí veremos el resultado.
No hiding in the bunch today. In fact, no hiding at all. It's the individual time trial.
Well, this is it. This is the bike that Lance Armstrong will use in the individual time trial, and strangely enough, it weighs in quite heavy at 9 kilos. But for Armstrong, the most important thing is not weight. It's aerodynamics and rigidity. Like most of these bikes, it's made nearly all of carbon fibre, the tubes thick and flat to cut into the wind. US Postal Service even have a fin that goes right under the saddle to reduce any friction with the wind at the back end of the machine. Armstrong has opted for a full disc wheel. That way the turbulence at the back end is reduced to a minimum. The gears he's going to use are immense, 56 or a 55 tooth chainring at the front and an 11 tooth sprocket at the back. Also at the front he's going to have a carbon fibre wheel, but this will have very thick rims and 3 spokes. They've tried to make this machine as aerodynamic as possible, and even the cables here for the brakes and the gears go right inside the tubes and come out wherever necessary. But it's the front end of the bike where the rider becomes more aerodynamic. He gets down onto these bars. Although these brakes don't look very good, they'll work very nicely going around the corners. But this is where aerodynamics comes to perfection, right down here in the middle. And I spoke to Chris Carmichael, Lance's coach. He told me Armstrong had been working very hard on the abs and the back to keep him in that aerodynamic position for longer. Hopefully on the long drags uphill, he will gain time over all of his rivals.
Well, perhaps more decisive than the inclines on this time trial route would be the home stretch, 17 or so kilometres along the Brittany coast with the wind whipping in off the sea. The best early time of 1 hour, 2 minutes and 43 seconds was set by Hungary's Laszlo Bedrogi. When Raimundas Rumsas came up the line within metres of catching 2 earlier starters, it looked as though he might have beaten it. But as it turned out, he slipped into second by 1/10 of a second. As we join it though, Santiago Botero of Calme and Colombia is setting all the best split times.
This is really beginning to warm up as the top riders come out firing on all cylinders. Huge crowd shouting them along here now as Botero is heading up now for the other check here. He should be just outside 1:2, 1:2:10 or something like that as he comes up to the line. If he's held on to all of his gains out on the course and added a couple of seconds more. He still looks very, very good here. And this is a man, king of the mountains of the Tour de France, who is now looking for a high finish in Paris as well. It is looking very good. 1:2:43 to beat, and he surely has done that. But he's not thinking of what Bedrogi has done or Rumsas. He's just afraid of what Armstrong will do behind him. So he needs the best time possible here as he races up to the line. Well, the time I thought has just gone by. He too has found this last 6 kilometres a bit of a problem, but it's still best time. 1:2:18 for Santiago Botero.
Well, this is the man who everyone wants to see what kind of performance he's going to put in this afternoon. Over the last 9 time trials that have been at the Tour de France, Lance Armstrong has won 7 of them.
He's aiming for his 13th stage win in a Tour de France. If he gets it today, it certainly will be lucky for him, because no cyclist currently racing has won more stages in a Tour de France. There are 3 riders, Cipollini, Zabel and Armstrong, all on 12 wins. Now, here's the big news. Sergei Honchar heading up towards the finish now. He was 8 seconds behind Santiago Botero with 6 kilometers to go. Has he kept those legs punching out this enormous pedaling gear? He certainly looks as though he's moving with some speed now. He's looking to do a time of 1:2:18 if he's going to get it, but I don't think he is, Paul. That time, I think, has slipped away. Yes, it has. It has. So Honshaw coming in at the moment. He should hang on to second best time. A little bit more of a sprint, Sergei. You're not quite there. As he comes up to the line, it's going to be a longer one than he anticipated. 1:2:36 for the moment. Second place for the former world time trial champion. The problem on the course, Jalabert, a problem with his bike as well as his helmet. Here's the situation replayed for you. Now, Paul, is it a flat tyre? I think the way he stopped it must be.
Well, he's trying to take the back wheel, but in fact it's going to take too long, and the mechanic is going to come up as quickly as possible. It looks as if he's got that stuck in there. You see, he's actually trying to unscrew that himself, and this is a very slow change for Laurent Jalabert. This is the problem with the aerodynamic bikes. The wheels and the quick release skewers have to be tightened down, and the mechanic has gone back to the car right now. This has lost Laurent Jalabert pretty close to 45 seconds right now. The spare machine is up there and running, but you know, that really breaks the rhythm once something like that happens.
The leader of the Tour de France, 5 days in yellow, Igor Gonzalez de Galdeano, is now underway. And Armstrong, looking for a 13th stage win in a Tour de France, is keeping the rhythm going over that little rise. And once he smells the finish, he will squeeze that little bit more out of his body. And Igor Gonzalez de Galdeano is still the man in yellow, and he is over half distance of the time trial. So I think it's safe to assume, Paul, unless he completely cracks up, he's going to keep the race lead tonight.
By a few seconds, I would think, and it's going to be pretty dramatic then the first days in the mountains, because we may well be looking at a huge Spanish attack.
There's the clock for you to see now and counting. Lance Armstrong is very close to the first or second in the time trial. He would want it to be first as he comes up to the line now. The clock is going to tell him he is not going to win the time trial. Santiago Botero has got a great scalp here as Armstrong comes up to the line. In fact, he's conceded a little bit more time on the approach to the line. As Armstrong comes up, he will be 10 seconds down. 1:2:29 for Armstrong.
Well, at that point, the sheer drama of the day overloaded the French television circuits, and the climax of the stage was lost to the world's live broadcasters. In fact, these are the only pictures of Igor Gonzalez de Galdeano crossing the line. It didn't affect the result, though. He came in with a time of 1:02:37, good enough for fourth and good enough to keep him in the yellow jersey. So Santiago Botero hands Lance Armstrong his first defeat in a Tour de France time trial for 4 years to take a dramatic Stage 9 win.
I can't lie and say I'm not disappointed with today, because I am a little disappointed, but anyways, here we go.
Sí, bueno, la verdad es un sueño. Eso lo decía yo antes de que pasara Lance y nada, eso te da una motivación y una alegría inmensa, porque son muchos meses preparando este tour y bueno, es muy bonito tanto para el equipo como para Thank you, David. Es muy bonito para nosotros y bueno, a Lance que está muy bien, entonces más mérito aún ganarle a él y igual a Igor.
The only way to win is to take back time, and the only way to take back time is to well, there's two ways. Either they crack and lose time, or you have a great day and attack and make up time. So we'll see how things go.
Stage 10 here to Pau was a warm-up day, really, for the big action in the Pyrenees, which begins tomorrow. Last chance for the sprinters and the breakaway merchants to grab a bit of glory before the going gets seriously diagonal. Pau, last stop before the mountains, which meant it was the last real chance for the opportunists to stage an escape and for the sprinters to pick up any big points. 35 on offer for the stage win on a flat stage, and 3 intermediate sprints along the way with 6, 4 and 2 points for the first 3 riders under the banner. Well, Eric Zabel started the day just 2 points ahead of Robbie McEwen in the green jersey competition, and at the first sprint McEwen beat him into second place, with Stuart O'Grady a very close third. That meant McEwen and Zabel were now level on points. There was a momentary frisson on race radio when word came through that González de Galdeano had abandoned, but it was Igor's brother Álvaro who'd been struggling with a thigh injury. There's only one Botero in the race though, and he dropped off the back early in the stage with a puncture before a couple of Calmay teammates helped pace him back to the bunch. On the rest day, the great Laurent Jalabert had announced that he was quitting at the end of the season. For the second stage running, his bike decided to take early retirement. In fact, he got through 3 by the end of the stage. And it was a blisteringly fast stage, which was surprising for the day before the Pyrenees. Finally, after several failed efforts, a break of 11 riders, though, did manage to get away. In it was Stuart O'Grady, who took second place at the second sprint and first place at the third. Not enough to challenge the leaders. Handy points in the bag for the man who'd started the day fourth in the green jersey competition.
So there's the 4 leaders. Good wide roads now as we course our way into Pau. That senior rival of the Tour de France on so many occasions, always giving us a great winner.
And there's a move, and it's coming by Algon. Algon trying to surprise everybody. They need to respond. O'Grady's waiting for somebody else. This is a dangerous thing to do.
Well, somebody's got to go, and he might have done it here with 8 to go because O'Grady looked and didn't react. Now they've got to sort it out. They've got time to go and recover. They've forced Dierksens to take up the chase. Interesting to note, Paul, that the Frenchman, Pinot, made absolutely no effort to go and chase down a Frenchman on a rival team. Watch this now. A perfect choice off the back wheel of Dierksens. Waited till O'Grady was on the front. Dierksens was in the best position to respond and didn't. The Frenchman had no intention of responding, and the one man he feared, Stuart O'Grady, was in the right position, or in O'Grady's case, the wrong position when he put the attack in.
This man is pedaling with absolute urgency, trying to survive. He stretches his advantage right now. The last time check we got was 15 seconds over the race radio. These long, slight uphill drags into the outskirts of Pau will shortly be put behind him when he comes onto the finishing place here in the Place de Verdun.
As we now look at the 3 chasers coming under 3 kilometres to go, and if anything, they're losing ground to Patrice Algon. The last time check for the peloton we got was 4 minutes and 28 seconds. And we do believe that Echeverria is still ahead of them and racing for what would be, in effect, the last place of the breakaway on the day, which would be 11th. This rider, though, is thinking of first, and he has got it all under control. 28 years of age, fairly late on, he turned pro as a roadman in 1995, and he's now going to add a win in the Tour de France. There's a few last turns before he enters the Place de Verdun, and that'll be for him the end of today's stage of the Tour. But this is going to be his victory now. Patrice Algon is sprinting for the first French win of this year's Tour de France. He read it well, and he deserves it because he made the attack that shaped the final 4-man escape on the last climb of the Côte d'Auja. He won all of the climbs today. He's gone second in the King of the Mountains. He doesn't matter about that. He is the winner of the stage in Pau and the first Frenchman to do it. Now O'Grady could do his second place, but they're letting the youngest Frenchman get the lead here. Frank Pinot at 22 years of age. The French can't go wrong today. It's going to be a 1-2, Paul. As Frank Pinot now, the young man, he's looking over his shoulder. He doesn't believe it. He's annoyed because he isn't winning, but he can't believe he's finished second. And if you're wondering why Stuart O'Grady didn't respond to Algon's attack, well, here's his answer.
You ever ridden a road race? Legs are burning, everyone's the same, you know. The first one to attack is always going to take the edge off the other ones, and straight away, you know, you go into negative thinking, and I was trying to get the guys to really pull along, and that's racing, you know.
This is going to be a very, very tight sprint indeed. Men are moving all over the road here. On the left of our picture now, Brad McGee has swung off as Baden Cook starts to go for the line now. Zabel is coming too. Robbie McEwen is onto Zabel's wheel. This is going to be touch and go here, but I think Baden Cook, no. McEwen on the line, very, very close. He might well have got 2 places over Zabel, Paul, but there's no doubt about one thing. The Australian McEwen, for the first time, has got the green jersey for himself today.
It was a good day for O'Grady, up into third in the points competition too, but a better one for his Aussie rival Robbie McEwen, who now leads the green jersey race by a single point from Eric Zabel.
This is what I've been working for the last few days, and you know, a few days ago, about 4 days ago, I was virtual green on the road, and then at the finish I lost a few points.
through finishing third when Eric won, and it took me another 4 days after that to get back on level terms. And now I knew I had to beat him here at the finish, and I was able to do that and take a 1 point lead. So it's an honour to be able to wear the green jersey in the Tour, and now we hit the mountains and the fun starts.
Today marked the start of the Tour Mark II as the race hit the Pyrenees in the certain knowledge that the Pyrenees would retaliate. Stage 11 would be the first big test for the men chasing Lance Armstrong's title, and of course for Armstrong himself. You know, there aren't many races that are improved by being slowed down. As a general rule in sport, faster is better. In cycling, though, suffering beats speed, and nothing produces more suffering and more spectacle than the Alps and the Pyrenees, which is where we are today. Now, of course, the strongest man in the mountains the past 3 years has been the strongest man overall, Lance Armstrong, and he didn't get that way just by eating his shredded wheat. While most riders are just getting out of winter training and into their first races of the year, Lance Armstrong is already riding the Tour, or at least what he considers to be the key stages of it. By the time the race starts for real, he'll have ridden climbs like today's maybe half a dozen times. God help anything that gets in his way, whether it's an avalanche or the advice of his team manager.
Lance, we're going with the car to until where you can ride, to prepare your clothes and some tea and stuff. Okay. Okay?
What if I keep going?
You can't.
Huh?
You cannot. 3 meters of snow. The guy says you can. There's no way you can ride. There's no way.
Who says that?
It's, in my opinion, essential to know the courses, and not just to be able to say, yes, I know what the Ventoux looks like, or yes, I know what La Mongie or Plateau de Bay or La Plagne looks like, because I've done it before. We did it in the Tour in '93. I was there, I did it. It's not the same. The approaches are different, the roads have changed. You know, the climbs you do before are most likely not in the same order that you did them in '93. So it's important to go and see it exactly the way it is. And then second of all, and maybe even more importantly, is it's fantastic training. To spend 4 or 5 days there with such climbing and such hard days, in my opinion, is one way to improve.
No rider in history has prepared for the Tour with Armstrong's zeal and attention to detail, and the benefits can obviously be seen on the podium in Paris. But once you realise what he's doing, they're noticeable on the road too. When Armstrong attacks, like he attacked Jan Ullrich on Alpe d'Huez last year, it's in the knowledge of exactly where he is on the stage and what difficulties lie between him and the finish line. Not to diminish Armstrong's natural talent, but it's that kind of knowledge that can make the difference between winning and losing. And there's only one way to acquire it.
I think I want to ride a little more, you know? Why don't you do another 10 kilometers of uphill? I'll go down 10K and come back. Pay attention, man. 10K. That's what it takes to win the Tour. What? Training in this weather. Nobody sees that.
We were about to see the results of it, though, on a route that took the riders over the second most climbed mountain in Tour history, the Col d'Aubisque, and finished partway up the most climbed of the lot, the Tourmalet. Along the way, just 2 green jersey sprints for any sprinters who still had the legs to take them on. The first attack came early, 13 kilometres, and in the break was Laurent Jalabert, who quickly left the others behind to ride over the Col d'Aubisque on his own. It looked very reminiscent of a stage in the Pyrenees last year when Jalabert made an heroic break, only to be overhauled by Lance Armstrong on the way to Pla d'Adet. Of course, Lance is too businesslike to believe in omens, but nonetheless it was Postal doing all the work at the front of a medium-sized chasing group that also contained the yellow jersey and his other big rivals. Telecom were doing some chasing too, with Robbie McEwen struggling at the back. They were hoping to keep their man Eric Zabel at the front for just long enough to get some points at the second sprint of the day. Having gone up the Col d'Aubisque and the Col de Soulor, a couple of riders came down heavily. Jens Voigt of Credit Agricole and the winner of stage 7, Bradley McGee, who'd left a couple of sponsors' logos on the tarmac in exchange for some nasty-looking road burn. As we join the action, Jalabert is still out front and hoping to avoid a rerun of last year's Pyrenean adventure.
Well, Jalabert riding hopefully to a stage win, if not the race lead, because that's gone, I think, for him. That wasn't his main intention of the day. It was, of course, to get a stage win, and also by virtue of the fact he's ahead and gets maximum points at the finish, he would also be pulling on the jersey as leader of the King of the Mountains. A beautiful sunny day, a lone leader in the Tour de France. The latest gap is 3 minutes and 19 seconds for the rider out front. Laurent Jalabert has held them without gaining or losing a second for so many kilometers now, and he still looks as though he's struggling, but let's hope that he will make it up that valley there to at least the finishing line, which today, thankfully, I would suggest now for Laurent Jalabert, is only 2/3 of the way up the Col de Tourmalet.
I tell you what, that was a beautiful backdrop, Phil, and one that I used to get very scared of when I was a bike rider, because when you saw the mountains starting to close around you, you knew there was only one way out, and that was up. And that's what all of these bike riders are thinking about right now. For Lance Armstrong, after the individual time trial a couple of days ago, this is his first real rendezvous at the Tour de France. He's laid his foundations for victory over the last 3 years in the mountains more than anywhere else, and it's nearly always been on the first day in the mountains. I think that tactic may change today, because I have a feeling Armstrong will wait for tomorrow's stage, which is a lot longer, with a lot more repetition of climbing to do. But the one man who wants to stay as close to possible to him is there in the yellow jersey is Igor Gonzalez de Galdeano. At the start of the day, they were separated by 26 seconds.
Well, we're looking at Laurent Jalabert, this wonderful cyclist from France who's ridden so well today. He's such a brilliant, aggressive bike rider. I'm not sure he can hang on to the finishing line. We all hope he can. Looking now, he's at 3 minutes 11 seconds. He is 20 kilometers or 12 miles from the finishing line. So close, and it's a desperate moment. 3 minutes 15 seconds for Laurent Jalabert. Looking better, I think, now than he was about 15 miles ago. Well, this is the Valley of Campon, and the beautiful little town of Santa Marie de Campon has its place in the annals of the Tour de France. It was here in 1913 when Eugene Christophe came off the mountain, ready to climb up the next one, had broken his forks, and in the local forge, he asked somebody to work the bellows while he repaired his own bicycle forks. And to get any assistance in those days was not allowed. He was disqualified from the Tour when he was the leader. And the fact the forge is now part of a museum in that town.
That's an incredible story, but this is the area where the history and the legends of the Tour de France have always been made. The mountains are so dramatic. They're dramatic as a backdrop, and they're also dramatic as a racing terrain, as Laurent Jalabert knows so well. He's raced well in the Pyrenees in the past, and last year did a similar escapade to this through the Pyrenees and tried to get himself the win at the top of the summit of the Pla d'Ardèche. But unfortunately, he wasn't able to do anything against the return to the top of Lance Armstrong on that day.
And 20 kilometers to go for the US postal-led peloton containing the Maillot Jaune. And the stars of Kelme are here too, by the way, Botero and Sevilla. There's little Sevilla. Babyface himself, Christophe Moreau, nearest camera in the green. Behind him is Bobby Julich, who's looking good today, Bobby. The sun is now coming off the right shoulder of this great French rider, Laurent Jalabert. The gap, 3 minutes 25 seconds. He's pushing it out again. This man never knows the words give up. He will fight to the end.
Well, he's around about 4 kilometers now from the real start of the final climb of the day. The final climb of the day is 12.8 kilometers. The average gradient only works out at 7%. But I think as we get closer to the summit is where it is its steepest part, and there the average gradient is 10%, and that's where it will really start to kick in, and the pain will start to appear in the riders' minds.
This is the lovely town now of Santa Marie de Campon, where Eugene Christophe once snapped his forks and was then disqualified because he got somebody to work the bellows while he forged a new pair. That's not justice, but that was in 1913. The rules were different then.
Well, the rules were different then. These men have cars that follow behind to change their machines, and it's a much slicker organisation that the teams have than the early teams when riders used to sleep at the side of the road. And there's some great stories, if you ever want to read the history of the Tour de France, of men actually being kidnapped to try and stop them winning the Tour de France, and being set upon in the night as they tried to ride through the mountain passes. None of that goes on now, I don't think.
So Laurent Jalabert now has only one thing on his mind, that's the climb, which is directly ahead of him. He is holding and slightly gaining. 3 minutes 20 seconds, so he just keeps it in that 5-second window. These boys keep the steady tempo going. Rubiera, number 9 there, the big rider from Spain, all now ready to ride alongside Lance Armstrong. Little rush of Rabobank riders there because Levi Leipheimer is here and looking good, so he may have informed the riders to put him in a good position as they start the assault on the finishing climb. Igor Gonzalez de Galdiano and his teammate Joshua Bolocki is down there side by side. Bolocki's been off, he's on a different bike. In fact, he changed his bike in the end, and you can see he's got no number on his frame now. So he's got rid of all his problems, he hopes, for the day. His only problem now, where's number 1 in this race, Lance Armstrong. Just 10 kilometres to go. This is an heroic performance today.
Well, he hasn't lost anything at all, and this is really very impressive, because bear in mind, this man, Phil, was attacking after just 15 kilometres of racing today. As soon as the race came out of the blocks, Jalabert was looking for the move. He's equipped his bike with very special wheels today. They're aerodynamic wheels. These wheels were put on for a special reason. The reason was he wanted to get himself off the front and try and do a special exploit in the Pyrenees for what is possibly his last attempt at the Tour de France, because he's told the world that he will retire at the end of this year, and he's doing a great ride and still holding on. I'm sure the accelerations must come, but they won't come, I don't think, until we get to the steeper part of the climb.
Right, because at the moment, you may have noticed Jalabert still had his chain on the big chain wheel, pedaling a heavy gear indeed, and not the sort of gear that he will pedal very, very shortly. Here is Zabel. Inspired ride today. He's dropping off the back now with Aldag, joined Bab Magri, Christophe Mongeon, Patrice Algon. They're all off the back now as it gets really, really tough. And Laszlo Bodrogi was the other Mappe rider there, who was part of the original escape earlier on. They've all called it quits on the climb now. They've stepped aside as the big players have started to turn the screw that little bit tighter. And it's the boys of US Postal who are mounting the pace. Still over 3 minutes for Jalabert, 3 minutes 10 seconds. He can tick the kilometres off now. He's in single digits. Unfortunately, the last 6 kilometres are at 1 in 10 or 10%.
That's painful, that is hard. Laurent Jalabert has got to do something very special to survive today, Phil, because he's been on the attack for over 130 kilometres.
The shoulder's just rocking a little bit, and this is Laurent Brochard here. Well, I never saw him come back into the race. He was dropped on the obese. He must have done, but now I think he's going back again from the leading group. So he did a fair ride to get back into a position to even be left behind by the peloton today. Looking down at the selection being made here now, a lot of riders have dropped away off the tail of this group, including, unfortunately, Bradley McGee. He wouldn't have been dropped if he hadn't been injured on the descent of the fall of the descent rather, after a fall on the Col de Soulor. And another rider going off the back here. Looks as though it's Michael Bogarts. So he's gone, and this is David Miller, so he was in there, but sadly, the first time we see him, he is losing contact from the bunch.
Well, he's having a hard time. It must be difficult to keep hold of the handlebars with that rib that's giving him a lot of pain, a problem with his intercostal muscles, and when you get into a big race like the Tour de France, no extra pain is required at all, and it's a pity to see that David Miller is going off the back there. He had said to us before the start of the Tour de France that he had lost a bit of his time trialling ability, Phil, because he'd specially trained for the big mountain stages. On the first day of the mountains, he's losing contact with the Lance Armstrong group.
Yes, and not a big group, not just a selection of a handful of riders, which doesn't all well perhaps, but we'll see and hope. As we now see Jalabert continuing, he's still holding a 3-minute advantage. The bunch have just gone under that 10-kilometre banner, 6 miles, as he is still about 1.5 kilometres, probably a full mile ahead on the road. The Spanish supporters here to cheer on their men, still saving something for this wonderful Frenchman. He's suffering now like he's probably, well, I won't say like he's never suffered before, because he always tries to the top of his ability.
He knows what it's like to suffer. He's been through this so many times in a 14-year career, turning professional back in 1989. 4 stage victories in the Tour de France. Most of those have been on the flat days. 2 times he's won himself the stage on the 14th of July, Bastille Day, but this would be a great victory for him if he can hold them off today. I don't think US Postal Service, Phil, are actually trying to pull him back. They're just setting a nice steady tempo on the front. Armstrong, I feel his tactics are he's waiting to see what the others are going to do on this first day in the mountains.
I couldn't agree more, and Armstrong's team have been the team of the day. They've controlled this race from the start. They've kept the race leader on the defensive, looking for a way out of the box in which they've placed him. And while up here, this man isn't going to be the race leader by the end of the day, but with a small time gap, let's hope he can hang on to take the honours, because he's certainly been the man who deserves them today. Laurent Jalabert was the highest placed Frenchman. I think he still is the highest placed Frenchman overall. Starting the day 4 minutes and 18 seconds down. If he can finish 1.5 minutes ahead, he'd be in the top 5 riders in the Tour anyway.
Well, the French have a good word to describe this kind of bike rider, the man we've been looking at for most of the afternoon, Laurent Jalabert. They call him a guerrier, which means a warrior, and he certainly is a warrior of the Tour de France because he's gone out on the attack on so many occasions. We're now looking at Lance's men. That was Rubiera just going through. Armstrong still looking calm and collected. Roberto Heras is just behind him. Heras, a former winner of the Tour of Spain. He actually has had a serious problem with his calf over the last few days. The man who wears the yellow jersey must be wondering exactly what is going to happen. Levi Leipheimer, 3rd overall in the Tour of Spain last year, the leader of the Rabobank squad right now, and formerly he used to ride alongside the men in blue because he raced for US Postal last year.
There was no place for him in the team this year because he has become a leader in his own right after that brilliant ride in the Tour of Spain last year. Now it's his first time in the Tour de France, and this a big test day for him. Back to the man who just wants to survive and get it over with. He's an old hand in the Tour de France. He's had the coloured jerseys, every one of them on his shoulders at some time or another. And the 2 he's kept all the way to Paris, the King of the Mountains and the green jersey as best sprinter. There aren't many cyclists in the world ever won the 2 extremes of the competitions.
Definitely not, but this man has done that, and he's also won himself the Tour of Spain as well, and he's won so many stages in that unbelievable bike race, and he's been able to win himself different kinds of races from the very start of the season in February right the way through to the end of the year.
George Hincapie doing a superb job today as he keeps the pace up at the front, being followed here by Rubiera. And then Heras, the little climbers now, look how lithe they are there. They just seem to dance on the pedals when they get out of the saddle. They've got no excess body weight whatsoever, as we now see other riders moving up. And one we should watch out for, Paul, he crashed out last year when he broke his collarbone, is Ivan Basso.
Well, he's in the white jersey there for Faso Bortolo, just on the right-hand side. This is happening at the rear. There is Yatislav Ekimov. He's done his job for the day. He's slipping away from the main contenders, as is Emmanuel Magnan. And it's surprising to see him so close to the front of a stage, a mountain stage of the Tour de France. But he was one of the men who went out on the early attack with Laurent Jalabert when they formed a group of 11 men that went off the front. And after that, he survived and managed to stay in contact with the leading group. But right now, we are looking down at this group, which is slowly but surely reducing itself in numbers. And here's the first attack of the day, the first attack from the yellow jersey group.
Yes, and it wouldn't surprise me. It is, in fact, it's not Agneluto, it's one of his teammates, though, from Jean de la Tour, who's launched the attack. And this could be an interesting move. It could well be Laurent Lefebvre who's gone clear here. As they start the moves now, they won't react to him. Lefebvre is on his way.
You can see how US Postal have certainly not responded at all to that attack coming out of the front. They're not worried about these lesser riders moving off the front. They're waiting to see if the attacks will come from Santiago Botero or Oscar Sevilla or even Roberto Laiseca. I don't think, in fact, Armstrong wants to set a hard tempo to, in fact, pull back the Frenchman Laurent Jalabert. He will be looking at the men who stand a serious chance of beating him in the overall classification. Laurent Lefebvre off the front there for Jean de la Tour. But you can see there's no panic at all in the main group. They're not worried, and Georgi Hincapie swings off there. The job's being done. It's a question now of just trying to get his huge carcass up to the summit.
Well, he'll hang on well. David Etcheberry has just been dropped from the peloton after his attacks earlier on today. He was second over the Col d'Aubisque. Laurent Lefebvre will keep the job in hand, try and get away from them. They won't directly chase him down. He's not a future winner of the Tour de France this year. But Armstrong sent up Rubiera now to lift the pace. And there he is down there. It's beginning to get a little select group at the head of the bunch. Also down there too is Andrei Kovalev as Rubiera is setting the pace. This is back to the front now as we see Laurent Jalabert look over his shoulder, trying to stay away, still looking very good. That face doesn't often give the game away. I thought he was telling us earlier he was finished, but now he's okay. This is David Etcheberry. He's been dropped and is trying to pick his way through groups. George Hincapie going off on the right. I think caught a glimpse there too, sadly, of Bobby Julich going off the back. There he is, Julich just in front.
Well, Julich was hoping to ride well in this year's Tour de France, and once again in the mountains having a hard time following the tempo set on the front by his former teammates. Michael Bogard going out of the back for the second time and probably the last time. Dario Frigo as well going off the back right now.
Ouch.
This is when it's really starting to get grippy. You see here one or two Once riders coming off the back as well. Jörg Jaks, he's done a lot of work for the team earlier on. He's been off the back looking after his teammate Yoshiba Belocchi. Now this is a bit of a surprise because this is Menchov, the leader of ibernesto.com.
He's also cracked as we speak now. Andrei Kovalev, fourth last year, is still in this. I see Laurent Lefebvre has been picked up. He's on the right of our picture. This, what have we got? Maybe 15, 20 very select riders now. And Levi Leipheimer is still there on the left of our picture with the balding pate. 2:25 is the gap now to Laurent Jalabert. I feel inclined to cheer for Jalabert right now because we'd love him to win.
He deserves to win after attacking from the very start. In fact, he's only 5.9 kilometers from the finish. The tempo on the front there is being done by Lance Armstrong's faithful lieutenant there, Chechu Rubiera. Rubiera setting a very nice pace on the front. No problem at all for Armstrong. He doesn't seem to be worried about pulling back Laurent Jalabert. Yoshiba Belocchi is on his tail. The yellow jersey still in very fine contact in fourth place. Igor Gonzalez de Galliano. They are all there for the moment. All of the big names are there, but it seems as if Christophe Moreau is going to the back, the green jersey of Crédit Agricole, in a bit of serious difficulty.
Well, pace-making being done by postal Spanish riders here are stretching this group to an awful long line now. Looking down at the group there, the yellow jersey still marking his man, and Belocchi on his shoulder. As we see now the two Spanish riders lining up behind Lance Armstrong. It looks now like the end of Francis Moreau here. He's also been dropped by the group. And also going off is Zabeldia of Euskaltel Euskadi. We'll get back up to the leaders very shortly, but they are thinning out rather rapidly just at the moment. David Miller sadly has gone as well. He was in the group, he's been dropped. And if Ivan Basso, still in the group, gets more than 2 minutes, he'll be the next candidate for the leader's white jersey.
Well, going out of the back, this is Jose Javier Gomez from Kelme. Also going out of the back was the Russian leader of AG2R, Bocharov. So some big names going out of the back. That's a very prized souvenir. Armstrong taking off his hat and throwing it into the crowd. Now, that'll be worth a few bob in a couple of years' time.
Well, we're now hearing that Tyler Hamilton has cracked as well and is being left. We might get a shot of that. Also, Richard Veronk is in trouble. So the pace that's being set by the US Postal Domestics here from Spain is crippling the rest of the race. But it's noted, Paul, that the two riders from Spain who said they're going to give trouble to Armstrong are still riding right at the front.
They're still there and they're still waiting for an opportunity. Roberto Laiseca did not look very comfortable either just a few moments ago. He would be the big hope for the crowd here, who are resplendent in their orange jerseys and shirts, and they were hoping that it was going to be the day for Euskaltel Euskadi. You can see the Basque flag at the side of the road there, but I think the majority of the crowd here are willing this man on to win, because this man has done an unbelievable exploit today.
Well, there's a puncture, and it sounds like Botero has got a problem in this group. We might see him, but I believe he is stopped by the roadside. We're looking for him as we see Moreau here fight his way back up to the tail of this group. We will look for him on the right, I think, as we go through. There's the car stopped. Now, he must be under shadow of the car, I think. But it's certainly trouble for Botero, Paul, as we now see this rider press on relentless. Another kilometre ticked off as the Spanish people here cheering on a Frenchman.
Well, that's a tough move there for Botero to try and pull himself back into the race. Richard Virenque also in difficulty right now. If we look down there, you can see there in the group is Sevilla. We're looking further back, and there's the yellow jersey. The yellow jersey has cracked, and he is slipping away from the lead. Look at the face on Sevilla. They need to stay in this group. Armstrong talking to his troops there, Phil. He's egging them on. He's encouraging them. He's telling them exactly what tempo to set.
Well, wait for it. In the next 3 minutes, Lance Armstrong will be in the maillot jaune of the Tour de France. Igor Gonzalez de Galdeano started the day 26 seconds ahead, and he's losing it fast with, surprisingly, Francisco Mancebo is in that group as well. Manolo Sainz always said his man was on the left there, Belocchi, and Belocchi is still riding. But they're slowly becoming outnumbered. A great ride being done as well by Andrei Kivilev of Kazakhstan. Still in there.
He's still in there, still surviving. Mancebo is here. The yellow jersey has to survive. Now it's Roberto Heras. Heras has come to the front. This man is the big mate of Lance Armstrong. His teammates have done an unbelievable job at 5 kilometres to go. Leipheimer is no longer there. They're 5 kilometres to go to the summit. Andrei Kivilev looks as if he's going to crack now. The communist rider on the left-hand side. Roberto Heras is lifting up the pace for Armstrong, who slowly but surely is riding his way towards the yellow jersey.
And this is destruction time now. Only one rider is left. One rider on Once versus what's left of US Postal. This is a show of defiance now. Belocchi is hanging on to the coattails of Armstrong as Roberto Heras is just lifting the pace too much for everyone except 2 men. So it's one-on-one, Paul, and Belocchi is the only man able to hang on to Armstrong.
Well, it looks like the Once Armada is crumbling. There is Levi Leipheimer, the leader of the Rabobank team. He can see the yellow jersey, Igor Gonzalez de Galdeano. Gonzalez de Galdeano knows that his chances are slipping away this afternoon, and Manolo Sainz was right to assume that Yoshiba Belocchi should be the lone leader. Just for the record book, this man at 5 kilometres to go had a 1 minute and 20 seconds advantage over this chasing group of Armstrong, Heras and Yoshiba Belocchi. Armstrong, though, has got an unbelievable team of climbers. What a brilliant job done by Chechu Rubiera, and then taken over by Roberto Heras. He's got a huge bandage on his right calf muscle there, but he's riding a great tempo for Lance today. They are now just 56 seconds down on Laurent Jalabert, and even Belocchi looks to be having some difficulty to stay on the tail wheel there of Armstrong.
The first day in the mountains, and Armstrong is all over this race again. Less than a minute now to catching Laurent Jalabert. I don't think he can survive, but at least the 3 coming up are not going to wipe him out of the leaderboard entirely. He surely can hang on to something on this great day of racing. Armstrong checking in there with Brunel too. I think he probably wants to know where's the yellow jersey right now, as Heras does all of the work for his teammates, allowing Armstrong the option here to sprint clear when he wants to. He is riding this event so cool.
He is very cool, talking to Johan Brunel all the time. Brunel talking to his man, slowly but surely explaining just exactly what the gap is. Right now, all Igor Gonzalez de Galdeano can do is ride his personal time trial to the finish and hope that he can conserve 26 seconds. I don't think he will right now. Laurent Jalabert is hoping that he can conserve the remainder of his advantage, which is down to 38 seconds. It's such a pity for this man. He's put in a brilliant battle today, and he's going to go through exactly the same scenario as he went through on the Plata Day last year. He's going to see Lance Armstrong coming forward forward. This time not alone, but this time he will be with Roberto Heras and Yoshiba Belocchi. They're pulling all of the cars out of the gap right now because on his tail is Lance Armstrong.
They are there. They can see this man at 4 kilometres. Armstrong, Belocchi looks as though he's under pressure, but he's hanging on. Heras takes a good look at the man from his own country here as he pulls an American to the lead in the Tour de France. Inside 4 kilometres now, down the gap is 26 seconds. This man looks here as though he's just gone through the shower as the perspiration tumbles off his face. Igor Gonzalez de Galdeano with the other American, Levi Leipheimer, right behind him. They're going to be still high on the overall classification, but they are going to be scared so much of what will come tomorrow from this man, Lance Armstrong.
I've never seen a man chat so much with his team manager at a situation like this. At the moment, he's calm and collected. He's just riding a very sensible race. He's using his teammate. And this year, Roberto Heras is going to be absolutely superb. Last year, he had a hard time coming through the mountains. He was plagued by a tendonitis. But this year, we are looking at a very good and strong Roberto Heras. He is going to be a huge ally for Lance Armstrong in the mountains. Jalabert looks over his shoulders. He knows what is happening right now, and he has taken a serious blow to his morale. He thought for a few moments, I think, he was going to win this stage. He's got himself a lot of points in the King of the Mountains competition, but he was hoping to win the first Pyrenean stage of this year's Tour de France.
Well, as they approach him, the yellow jersey is now a full minute behind Lance Armstrong, Belocchi and Heras. And so Belocchi, who started a minute 23 behind his teammate, is now climbing into second place in the Tour de France. Armstrong undoubtedly clear for yellow.
When you crack on a climb like this, you blow to absolute smithereens, and that's exactly what's happened to Igor Gonzalez de Galdeano. He has worn the yellow jersey now, Phil, since the team time trial. The pressure of wearing the yellow jersey on your shoulders is unbelievable. The press want to talk to you every day. You can't sleep at night, and right now it has been taken away from his shoulders. They have now caught Laurent Jalabert. There are 4 riders at the front of the race. I wonder if Laurent Jalabert has got enough left in his body just to try and stay with Armstrong. Heras is setting the tempo there. There's a Lone Star flag at the side of the road, and Armstrong quite content, Phil, just to sit there and let Heras do the pacemaking.
There is nothing to gain at the moment for Belocchi even attempting to attack Armstrong, even if he can. Levi Leipheimer being tailed by the Maillot Jaune group here, which is still gathering strength as riders join Igor Gonzalez de Galdeano, but now timed at 1 minute 10 seconds. Iva Kivilev is the rider on the left of our picture there, and rider number 31 is Oscar Sevilla, but Patero has not recovered from that problem he had down the road. Most unfortunate for the Colombian. And Jalabert has also cracked. Let's hope he can hang on for 4th place.
Look at his face. That really tells a picture. He thought for a few moments he could hang on to the train of Armstrong, Heras and Sevilla. He couldn't do that, but this man was attacking from the very first kilometres of today's stage. Roberto Heras on the front is doing the superb job for Lance Armstrong, pacing him up this climb. Armstrong has built himself a magnificent team for the Tour de France. His team, when they first came to the Tour, were criticised for not being strong. Right now, I think they've got the advantage over Once, who thought they were the strongest team on block, to take on the Texan.
Well, it has been a demonstration beyond belief here. We've always thought Armstrong was riding a calculated tour. Now he's proved it. He's still riding a calculated tour. He's riding under instructions from his manager, not wasting his energy. He doesn't need to apply any more pressure. He may never go to the front today except to win the stage, because he's let his team gain all the time for him. And now this man, Heras, has been worth his weight in gold. They're saying that the group Maillot Jaune, well, it's coming back. It was 1:10, it's now 49 seconds, so it may be clawing its way back. Armstrong is conserving energy here as best he can for the big day tomorrow.
Well, another time check coming in off race radio, 57 seconds. I think I'm more inclined to believe the 57 seconds, because this man is going backwards. There's no way, looking at him, he is coming forwards to the group of Armstrong. Armstrong's group looks strong. Look at the face. This man thought he could hold on to Armstrong maybe for one more day, but he's having to relinquish leadership of his team to Yoshiba Belocchi, who is just managing to survive here with Lance Armstrong and Roberto Heras. But even Belocchi seems to be having a hard time staying on the wheel of the man setting an unbelievable pace on the front, Roberto Heras, wearing number 3.
2-1 the odds now. 2 US Postals against the Once rider. He's hopelessly outnumbered here. Armstrong hasn't used any of his energy yet in making the pace up this climb. It would not surprise me though if Biloki tries one cheeky attack just to try and steal the stage for a psychological result, but somehow I can't see Lance